Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we are doing a very awesome, in my opinion, video because a lot of you have asked to do this start to finish how I like to do it, and what better way than to pair it up with a Lancaster unboxing. They sent me something in this box and I know what it is, but I have never messed with this exact thing before. So it's going to be very interesting today, and probably actually will bleed into tomorrow a little bit. But let's go ahead and open this up. Check it out. Well, I'm guessing you already kind of have an idea on what's in this box. I mean, there's only one shape that this really can be. A bunch of plastic bags. Just kidding, not plastic bags. These are the all-new Superdrive 19s. Kind of a interesting diameter, more closer to a hunting type diameter, but what I really think I'm going to try to mess around with these with is 3D. So we have a fresh dozen of these Superdrive 19s, and we actually got some nocks, and then we also have 90 grain tips. So we have the nocks, we have the tips, pretty much ready to go and have some fun. So I am just going to base this, or how I'm going to cut these arrows first. I guess what I should say is my X10s are already set up pretty decent to a lengthwise how I'm going to want them. So I'm actually just going to add a little bit of length on the X10 and then cut them. Kind of a general rule of thumb, you're going to want just a little bit of room, and this is like very general, just a little bit of room past the riser when you're at full draw, out past the riser in front of the rest. That's always a general rule of thumb, depending on the spine and everything, and the amount of weight you have in the front of your arrow. Then it depends a little bit more on what type of links you have. Alright, so we have everything cut now, and what we have to do now is, and I forgot to mention too, you can look at the label and determining what side you cut on. Typically, not always, depending on like if you want to go through every single shaft and figure out which part or which side is the straightest, try to cut more of the unstraight side, but I'm not going to get into that. So the label is closer to this side, so this is going to be the knock side. So you cut off of the tip side, and this applies for parallel shafts. So when there's no type of barreling or anything like that, which this shaft is 100% parallel. So we cut off the tip side, but now, you know, the saw, something might not be 100% straight on this cutting edge. So what we want is 100% contact all the way around when that tip goes in there. So I have this little squaring tool. It's actually not the tool that I would like to use. The tool I want to use is like a G5 squaring tool. I don't have one of them, so I have these little sandpaper thing that Easton sends with most of their arrows. Okay, so now we have the arrows cut and leveled. So now I suppose we can put in the bushing, and the tip. I didn't mention earlier, I did get bushings, so show how to install those also. So now I guess is the hardware. We put all the hardware in, and we need a torch and some glue and some pliers. Unless you like burning your fingers, then I guess you can use your fingers if you want. So like I already said, these are Easton Superdrive 1990 grain points. So we're gonna go ahead and use these. The type of glue I like to use for this is called hot melt. I think this is boning glue. I'm pretty sure from boning, not 100% on that, but I've used this for a long time. Really like it for tips and whatnot. And then bushings we're actually gonna use just the same glue to put the bushings. You don't wanna put a lot on this, just a little bit. And we'll go over some tips and tricks for putting these bad boys in. Oh, look at that. Jeez. So, first thing we are going to do is get this torch lighted. Maybe. So when doing this, I like to think of it as being graceful. You don't want to get anything too hot. You don't want to get too aggressive because these tips are, you know, rather delicate. You don't want to put a bunch of dings in them with the pliers or burn your hands or burn the carbon, chip the carbon. So it's kind of just like, just kind of be delicate about it. So the best way that I like to do this is you find your knock end, your tip end, you put the knock end underneath your armpit. And then actually this is a George Riles tip, but you never want to heat the tip up more than what would burn you if you were holding it. You don't actually want to get this thing super hot. So one option would be, yes, go ahead, take the pliers, hold it. And the Easton pliers actually have these cool little grooves you can put your tip in, but you can hold it, do your deal with the fire and everything. But for me, I'm just not gonna do that. So with this hot melt, you're actually supposed to heat up the hot melt first. And all you're doing is just melting it a little bit, and then you're getting it on the tip just like that. So you're melting it, putting it on the tip, melting it, putting it on the tip. It's important, you know, don't put a ton on because it's just all gonna squeeze out. But you put quite a bit on. So something about like that. Then what you're gonna wanna do is reheat it up. And I have my arrow in my armpit ready to go. It's always right here. So when I'm ready to grab it, I just grab it, heat it up a little bit more. And go ahead. And when you put it in, I always like to spin it. Spin it and put it in just like that. And you get all the way down. Push it on the table. Take your finger, because it never gets hot enough to burn your finger. Spin it right off just like that. Now you got a piece of glue. Your tip's ready to rock and roll. And then actually what I like to do is I have a water bottle that says cool tips on it. And then I like to take the tips, put them in the water. It creates, I don't know if it's like a chemical reaction that the quick cooling of it makes it dry harder or whatnot, but I heard from someone that happens. So, but anyways, there you go. That's one super clean tip, just like that. So I have all 12 tips installed, ready to shoot. So now what I'm going to show you guys is how to put it in the bushing. It's going to be pretty much exactly the same way, except we're going to use very, very little amount of glue. You really don't need a whole lot of glue on here because all you're doing is putting the knock on. There's really no stress like getting a, shooting into a target and then trying to get it to pull out. So I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna put a little bit on it. And this is important too, that you don't damage, if you do use pliers, you don't damage this bushing. Ooh, yeah, that got a little hot. That you don't damage this bushing because you don't want it bent. You don't want anything wrong with this because this is a very important part. There you go, bushing just like that. So I'm gonna go ahead, put these 12 in, and then we'll move on to the next step. We are one step closer to getting a full dozen of arrows completed. We have all the bushings installed, nice and pretty. We have all of the tips installed, nice and pretty. So now what we have to do is we have to put all the nocks on. Pretty easy. One thing I always try to do is line up this logo exactly the same every single time. So if I put this Superdrive 25 upwards, if I were to knock it in the bow, I try to put the knock the same exact way every time. So for example, if I were to put the knock in with, if you notice, I believe this is on all manufacturers, but at least on Easton, there's a little tiny dimple on the side of it right there. You can see how one side is different than the other. I always try to put that on the same exact side also. So let's say we put the arrow in just like this. I won't put it all the way in yet, but just like this. And this is what the label looks like. We're gonna try to mimic that exact, direction every single time. And I just broke my own rule. Never do what I just did to a knock. That sucks. So that's why Easton spends all that money and ships out these knock tools. So use the knock tool, put it in, and then push it in that way. All the nocks ready to rock and roll. So for the fletching jig, there she is. For these, I'm actually going to use a boning blazer vane. These are my special B-Reel edition, that if you want to get these vanes, they are available on BeRealMerch.com. So I have white ones and yellow ones and some new colors soon. But as of right now, white and yellow. So we're gonna actually put these on. I'm using the Last Chance Archery Veinemaster Pro. Really like the adjustability and accuracy of this. So let's go ahead and get these fletched up. So this fletching jig's pretty sweet. So how you use it, because it is different than other fletching jigs, you have the arrow holder right here. So you put it in, and it kind of puts tension on it. Slide it down, and then this is where the knock is, put, and you spin it around and stuff. So you want to make sure it's knocked into something or clicked into something. Then you put the knock in the little tab right there. And then this is the actual part that the fletching goes on. There's two little wire pieces, and what's awesome about this is the helical is super adjustable. You have left and right helicals in different degrees, so you can go ahead and switch it out whichever way you want. Right now I'm running a right helical, 3 degree. That's what I run a lot of my stuff on. I don't like to go too crazy. 3 degree, 2 degree, right in there is pretty good for me. So you go ahead and take your vein, and there's a little tiny red mark right there. And what I do with that, put the vein in, and then I line up that red mark with this edge. So every single time I just line it up just with that. And there you have it, the vane is ready to rock in the fletching jig. There's all types of glue out there. I normally use boning glue, but I'm all out. So I have actually, it's this electronic super glue. It works really good actually. And you know, if I'm gonna be honest, most super glue is pretty much exactly the same. So I actually like to put quite a bit of glue on these because I don't like stuff coming off, but you don't put too much. And you don't want to put too little because you don't want air pockets and stuff. So all you want to do, that whole little ridge, fill up that whole ridge, and you take your edge of your bottle, you just kind of smooth it out. So there's no air pockets, there's no nothing, no bubbles. Because if air gets underneath there, then that's just going to allow it to slip up and separate easier. So now what you do, you have your fletching in this little jig thing right here. You put it on, and with 2 hands, it's important, 2 hands. And you also want to make sure that your end of your arrow has this cap on it. That keeps everything nice and snug. So with 2 hands, 2 hands is super important. You clamp it just like this. You clamp it all the way down, and then I like to put pressure against the shaft and the press to get an extra snug fit. And all you do is you like hold it there for 5 seconds, 6 seconds or so. Voila. So my camera just overheated, so I had to let it sit for like just a little while, but I have a couple arrows fletched, and I totally forgot a very important step. Before you can start fletching, what I recommend and what you should do is rub down the whole area of the shaft that you're going to be fletching with alcohol, denatured alcohol, or some type of arrow cleaning wipe. So there's a couple out there on the market, but I totally forgot that. Make sure to do that. I'm going to get these fletched up, and it's like 11 p.m. right now, so we're going to actually pick up this video tomorrow morning, shoot it through the bow, check out how these arrows fly. Well, it's a couple days after. The weather has been so bad. It's still super windy. It's super cold. Definitely should have more than this sweatshirt on. But I have to get out here because we have to test out these arrows a little bit. Superdrive 19s. I got 6 of them fletched up. And we're back at 55 yards. We're going to see just how they shoot. Hopefully I don't miss on this first one. I have it estimated how I feel like they should fly. They're actually like a little bit lighter than an X10. At least how my X10s are set up. Yeah, let's see how they do real quick. Okay, not bad. Ooh, hitting down there. Hitting down there again. So let's go check it out. So I kind of already said this, but the Superdrive 19, it's kind of designed to be a 3D type arrow. Could be an indoor arrow also, because it's just kind of a little bit bigger diameter. But like a field archery round setup or some sort of like feed around, it's not going to be like your arrow of choice just because it's a little bit lighter and bigger in diameter. Like I can notice that the wind is affecting it because it is a little windy right now. The wind is affecting it a little bit, but I had a pretty good dang group down there. Out of the 6 I shot, I moved my sight, and this was the 4 after moving my sight just to the right of the 10. So first shot, second shot, and the next 4. So not that bad. I'm super impressed how these shot. for the first time at least. So let's go ahead and shoot it again. I'll give it a couple more clicks, and that right might just be the wind. I'm not 100% sure. So right now it's not super windy, but a minute ago it was super windy. Super cold in Michigan still. April, beginning of April, I'm not sure exactly, but turkey season's pretty soon. But anyways, let's shoot one more time, and then I'm gonna freeze. I'm gonna go inside. So that one arrow is not coming out. So I'm down to 5. So we're gonna shoot these 5 and see how it does. Not bad. That was right in the middle. That was still good. That's 5. Let's go check them out. It's a pretty decent group down there. Wind definitely picked up that time though, but I think I kept them all in there. Again, I'm pretty happy with this group. 2 9s, one's barely a 9, but for how windy it is right now and how cold I am, I'm super happy with how these Superdrive 19s are shooting. Definitely a good candidate for a 3D arrow, an indoor arrow, a kind of all around arrow if you want to get like a pretty decent one for shooting some target stuff. So definitely don't overlook the Superdrive 19. Make sure to check out lancasterarchery.com. They have all arrows pretty much on the market on there, and I know they're still trying to be running as much as possible with everything going on right now. So now is a great time too to mess with your stuff, pick up some new arrows, try to make them yourself. So hope you guys really enjoyed this video, this extensive review and building. Anyways, Lancaster Archery, make sure to check them out. Make sure to check out BeRealMerch.com, and I'm freezing. I'm going inside. Catch you guys next time.